This will be a quick Tinkercad tutorial to get you started using this tool. You should check out the direct starters underneath the Learn link on the Tinkercad website. These quick tutorials will help you learn the basics that will make getting around a lot easier as you're first using this site. So we'll start with basics camera movement. So if I right click and drag my camera, it will kind of revolve around the center. If I scroll up with my scroll wheel, I can zoom in. If I scroll down, I can zoom out. And if I click on my scroll wheel and drag, I can pan the camera. And I can also do the same thing by right clicking and holding shift. We'll pan the camera. So that's basic movement. If I bring a shape in from the basic shapes panel on the right, I'll show you kind of basic modification. I can move the object by dragging it along the X or Y plane. I can use this cone at the top to lift it up along the Z axis. It's going up and down. And I'll put this back to 0. I can rotate an object using any of these arrows around the outside. We'll rotate the object along that plane. So I'll do 45 degrees. If I use the inner part of the circle, it goes in fewer segments, so it's kind of quicker to snap to a common degree, like 45. So that's how I do that. I'll do another here. I can also resize objects by clicking on the squares. These white squares on the side will adjust both of those, the length and the width at the same time. The white square at the top adjusts only the z-axis going up and down. So I can make it taller. I'm going to scale this all together by holding shift. Shrink it down. So that's basic modification of objects. I'm going to drag these out of the way. One of the most important tools in Tinkercad is the grouping function. So if I take this object here, zoom in, I have two shapes overlapping each other, and I can create a new shape by selecting both of these shapes and then clicking on the group button. You can also press Ctrl G. That will make these shapes into one single shape. So that's very handy when you're editing models. I'm going to ungroup this using the ungroup button. I can also create new shapes by cutting one shape away from another shape. So I'm going to turn this circle into a hole or a cylinder, and I'm going to cut that away from the cube. Doing the same process, I'm going to group them, and now I have a new shape with that hole cut out. So that is kind of the fundamental tool for Tinkercad and something that's important to kind of understand and get the hang of. Probably the next most important function is the work plane tool. So a lot of times you need to put something, an object, a label, on a specific surface, and you want some pretty good accuracy knowing that it's going to be laying flat on that surface. So you can use the work plane to do that. If you click on the work plane here on the right and drag it over onto the desired surface, we can begin working on that surface as if it's the kind of bottom layer that we've been working on up until this point. I'm going to put in 0 here to make it lie flat, and then I'll just kind of line it up a bit in the center. And instead of clicking on the work plane tool, I can also press W, and that will bring up the work plane tool, and I'll put that on the new side. And I'll align this object so it's lying flat on that surface. Kind of roughly put it in the center. Do it again here, W, and you see I drag the cone up, and I'll punch in the number here. This seems to be the fastest way to get these to line up quickly. Control Z to undo that spin. So really quickly using the work plane tool, you can get all of these shapes lined up and on your cube without any kind of question to whether or not it's laying flat. So it's a very handy tool to get the hang of. Alright, I'm going to shrink this because I don't like it tall. Alright, so that's the work plane. And then the last tool I'll show you is the align feature. So if I grab this text here, I want to line all this text up on the same plane. So I'm going to select it all, and then I'll go to align in the top. You can also press L to quickly turn on the align tool. I'm going to align everything to the very top, and then I'll make sure it's all aligned actually on the bottom. And now this text is perfectly flat along the bottom here, and I don't have to worry about manually trying to line that up. Similarly, I can take all these shapes here and use the align tool. I'll press L this time. And I'm going to center all these shapes so they overlap. I'm going to do that just by clicking on this center button there, and that will get everything kind of centered up with each other. And this is really handy because it can be difficult to do this by hand. If I wanted to export a model, like let's see this work plane cube I made, I can select all the shapes, and then I'll go to export, and we want to choose OBJ or STL for these. I'm going to choose STL. And now I have an object that is ready to print. So that's basics getting started in Tinkercad.